Hey everyone, so I'm going to go over the game footage from my Fusion Cup at Orlando. It was a big cup that had over 200 participants and went on for 8 rounds. There were a lot of big names there, so a lot of tough competition as well. So I decided to run a pretty weird team composition. I essentially ran 3 flyers with Charizard, Altaria, and Noctowl, and then I ran 3 waters with Poliwrath, Swampert, and Whiscash. Something I found early on in this meta is that there aren't really a lot of guaranteed safe switches. It really depends a lot on your opponent's team. And so that's pretty much how I came up with the idea of running 3 different types of flyers and 3 different types of waters, mainly because this allows me to have multiple options against different players' teams. I did end up being one of the stream matches in round 3 of the tournament. So once we get to that portion of the video, I'll just show the clip from stream, mainly because I wasn't able to screen record at the same time. So going into the first round, I am going against Southway, and I go in with Poliwrath, Charizard, and Swampert. And so for the most part, Poliwrath counters quite a bit on his team already, so I figured it's a pretty safe lead, and if not, I could always switch over to Charizard, which seems like a pretty solid safe switch in this scenario. Alright, so, and then he brings in Shift Tree, and this is where I make a mistake. I actually misclicked Swampert, and I actually meant to click Charizard. And so I kind of just let that one go just because I know I can't get to a Sludge Wave before he could get to another Leaf Blade. And so right here, I'm going to try to farm down the Shift Tree a little bit, and I was kind of expecting a Foul Play because Foul Play can do quite a bit of damage to Charizard, and at this point, I'm not going to commit 2 shields, so I'm just going to let it go, and he ends up going with another Leaf Blade. So not a great situation. I'm down a shield, and I'm down a Pokemon as well, and so right here, because he goes for a shield, I'm just not going to shield this. Either he's going to use Mud Bomb for baits, or he's going to go Blizzard and deplete all his energy, and that way I could farm a little bit. But because he didn't, I know that I'm going to have to keep using my charge moves with Poliwrath. And right here is a fairly favorable situation just because Poliwrath is able to beat Altaria, especially with some energy lead and especially with the shield. And so at this point, I choose to shield this just because I'm pretty confident I could get to a Dynamic Punch before he can get to another Mud Bomb. And so, yeah, definitely a closer match than it should have been. That was my mistake on that part. So I go in the next matchup with Charizard, Altaria, and Poliwrath. And so kind of similar philosophy. I know that Poliwrath does pretty well against his team, so I'm going to save it for the end, knowing that it could probably take out most things on his team in that end slot, besides Wigglytuff. So Wigglytuff, I'll need some extra energy, but everything else Poliwrath is able to take out. Even Shift Tree, actually. And so that's another reason why I brought Poliwrath, because it can beat Shift Tree in all even shield situations, and it could survive 1 Leaf Blade too. So he's going to go in for Blizzard right there. And so I shield that correctly, and then I go in straight for another Sky Attack, either hoping he shields again, or hopefully I beat him before he gets to another Blizzard. And so he actually goes in with a Mud Bomb right here. I'm not entirely sure why. He might have thought that I was going to get to a Sky Attack beforehand, and he's just going to go and just do some chip damage as much as possible. But he probably could have gotten to a Blizzard. It would have been kind of close, I think. Either way, all shields are down. I'm just going to go straight for Dragon Pulse right here. Take out his Altaria, and then Shift Tree. This is a fairly favorable matchup for me, and so if he goes Foul Play, he probably could take it out, but my guess is he couldn't get to it in time, and then I'm going in with the Sky Attack to clean it up. So that was round 1. I was kind of hoping I saw the Houndoom just because I've never gone against one, but he ended up not bringing it, understandably because there's 3 waters on my team. So second round, I'm going against Havoc. I know Havoc actually from a Discord I'm in, and he's also from the North Florida region, so he was at the regionals I was at last year too. So unfortunately I had to go against a friend of mine in this match, but he's definitely got an interesting team too. I actually kind of thought that it might have been Powder Snow, Obama Snow, but you'll see later that it's actually Razor Leaf. So I went to this matchup with Charizard, Noctowl, and Poliwrath. Really mainly I was scared to bring any of the Mud Boys into this scenario, because if that Obama Snow is running Razor Leaf, then that's just not going to be a good situation. And Charizard's pretty much needed because it's 4 times weak to fire, so I know that was going to be useful. And so right here, we're just kind of exchanging some back and forths. So he does win this advantage right here, but I'm just going to go on Charizard, and then he goes Frostlass. So Charizard's really good on my team against Frostlass because I don't have a lot of strong Frostlass counters on my team. It's pretty much just a combination of Charizard and Swampert. Swampert's not really a true Frostlass counter, and you can see that Charizard came in handy right there with the Blast Burn. So yeah, so it's not the most ideal counters right there. Because I'm running 3 flyers and 3 waters, I do have quite a few holes in my team. One of it is Frostlass. So having Charizard is pretty crucial on that. Looking back on it, I probably should have swapped out one of my Mud Boys for Quagsire to address my Frostlass weakness. But so that's probably why you'll end up seeing a lot more Charizard in this video than I probably would have imagined beforehand. It's just because any teams for Frostlass is a solid choice. Yeah, so we're gonna go in here, and because I already let the Mud Bomb bait go, I figure I might as well shield this Blizzard because it'll put me a little further ahead now. And so I'm gonna go in straight away with another Sky Attack. He's gonna shield. At this point, I know they could probably get to another Sky Attack as well, and so I'm just gonna go for that. Oh, he actually does double up on Hydro Cannons actually. Either way, Poliwrath's gonna be able to clean this up pretty well. I know he has Sludge Wave on this already, so he's not gonna be able to one-shot this Poliwrath. But yeah, and then I go in with Charizard, kind of anticipating that switch. And I probably over-farmed a little bit right there, but at the same time too, I know that, yeah, I probably should have used that Dragon Claw. I was hoping to just like farm him down so that way this Swampert wasn't able to farm my Charizard, but ended up working out.
I don't know if you noticed, but Caleb Peng just locked in with Charizard as the lead.
And you said he was going to bring it.
I didn't think he was going to bring it.
Okay, Charizard versus Noctowl.
Wow.
Noctowl is certainly bulkier and it can get to those Sky Attacks very quickly. It appears that Charizard is running Fire Spin, so it's not going to be getting into those Blast Burns nearly as fast as Sky Attack, right? So he is queuing up a Blast Burn. And finally, he relents and goes for the Blast Burn. We'll see if... oh, it looks like Jingles. Jingles?
Jingles.
He says Jingles. Someone said he pronounced his name, his username Jingles. Okay, so at any rate, Jingles did go for the shield. Very good read, blocking that Blast Burn. Both are equal shields. However, Noctowl had 2 Sky Attacks ready to go, right? And so we do want to commit to this matchup. And
that's the thing, right? He's going to go for another Blast Burn right here.
Yeah.
But he won't be able to get to another one.
He will not be able to get to another one. So it really hinges on whether Jingles commits to the matchup, goes for the shield here, and he does commit. So insta-switch to Swampert, no shields. Swampert with a lot of energy here is going to take a huge chunk out of that Frostlass. And Frostlass is going to get an Avalanche in, so that's going to be quite a lot of damage onto this Swampert. But Swampert obviously is going to get to that second Hydro Cannon before second Avalanche from Frostlass.
For sure.
And so we'll see how this plays out. Obviously, Swampert's going to be on low HP, a decent amount of energy against whatever comes in next, right?
I think he should have farmed a little bit.
Yeah, but Powder Snow still does neutral.
It still does a lot.
It still does neutral. It's not as bad as in DPT as, say, Mudshot or something like that.
Right.
And looks like Noctowl does come in. If we can get a Hydro Cannon, it's going to be huge. Getting in that Hydro Cannon on the Noctowl. I think Noctowl is going to barely be able to tank this if it's not within knockout range. It's going to be really close. And so Noctowl hanging in there.
Farming.
Getting as much energy as possible. And with Charizard there and Poliwrath in the back, that is definitely the right choice there. Immediately going for the Sky Attacks. Charizard is going to go down here with the Sky Attack, and it all hinges on whether Poliwrath can get to that Ice Punch before the Sky Attack. Sky Attack coming out, and it's going to take a huge chunk out of this Poliwrath. I think it's a one-hit knockout, if not very close.
Yeah.
No. It's very close. It's very close. And
Switch
now,
out.
here's the thing, right?
Dynamic.
Probopass is going to get to that Dynamic Punch. It's going to expend a lot of energy. Probopass is going to... Poliwrath is going to use that Dynamic Punch, barely not knock out this Probopass. Farm down and go for the Ice Punch. Ice Punch into the Noctowl.
An Ice Punch into the Noctowl. End the game.
Wow.
That was...
But he had a Sky Attack. No, he didn't have a Sky. He used a Sky Attack prior. Wow.
That was huge.
Yeah. Caleb Peng.
I think that Hydro Cannon is what made it. All right, completely agree.
So we'll see what these players are locked into. Again, Charizard versus Frostlass in the lead is pretty good for Charizard, right? It's going to go straight Dragon Claw and chunk away at this
He's able to
Frostlass.
farm a little bit.
And so obviously Hydro Cannon or Sludge Wave is going to smart here on the Poliwrath counter switch. Poliwrath can certainly tank the Hydro Cannon, but opts to shield. Really want us to protect this Poliwrath as much as possible. So we'll see if he goes for the Dynamic Punch or not.
That extra
Sludge.
fast move
Ooh, Sludge Wave. Sludge Wave is going to hurt, right? But this is one of the appeals of Earthquake, is this matchup. Earthquake with Stab and being a little bit better DP than Sludge Wave is just that much better against the Poliwrath matchup. So opting not to shield here was great. That Dynamic Punch, of course, hurts. And Ice Punch is now within knockout range, getting a shield off of Jingles here. He's going to be able to get to another... Oh, no, he's not going to be able to get to another Hydro.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I don't think Caleb is going to shield here. That's what I suspect. I think he's going to let this go.
And then farm with the next Pokemon.
And, yeah, get a little bit of energy, and that little bit of energy is going to be enough. You think it's Charizard?
Charizard's coming back in.
Yeah, I don't think he's got enough to get to another Hydro Cannon here. Oh, interesting.
Decided to farm. That was risky.
Well, here's the thing. He's got Charizard with energy. Now he's got Swampert with energy, even shields. And in comes Frostlass, getting a little bit of lag there, going straight for the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon, again, is going to hurt. He knows that that Charizard has a Blast Burn ready to go.
Yeah.
So now...
He still decides to use the shield.
Yeah, he does decide to use a shield. And Charizard can tank this Avalanche. He's going to go for the Blast Burn, you guys. Even if the Noctowl counter switches here, which is going to happen.
Yeah.
Noctowl can certainly tank a Blast Burn, but it's going to
hurt.
Yeah, it's going to hurt. And remember that Swampert on Caleb's side does have energy. Oh, we missed a couple fast moves there. I don't think it would have mattered.
It wouldn't have changed.
We wouldn't have been able to get to that last Dragon Claw. We're able to get to that Hydro Cannon, knock out the Noctowl here. And... we still have a shield. I think Caleb still has a shield.
No. Oh, Caleb. No, I don't think Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb still has a shield.
Yeah.
Yep. So Caleb's going to be able to shield this Avalanche, get the Hydro Cannons. Yep. He's got the shield.
Yeah.
So he's going to shield this Avalanche, go for the Hydro Cannon, and if it's not a knockout, it's going to be super close. Yeah, he's not risking anything, right? No. He's got it lined up. He doesn't want Frostlass to have any kind of little bit of energy. Yeah. And really, I mean, barely hanging in there, that Frostlass, as you can see.
Going into round number 4, I'm going against El Calvissimo, and he is a member of Team Mben as well, and I figure he's going to be a pretty top player. Never played him before, but yeah, I knew this probably not going to be an easy one. So I go in with Charizard, Swampert, and Poliwrath, and like I said before, besides Charizard, Swampert is my main other Frostlass counter just by pretty much doing neutral damage to it. And because of that fast energy generation, I can just get to multiple Hydro Cannons. And so I could really outpace this Frostlass right there. And then because he has a Wish Cache team, I know that Swampert is able to take out his Wish Cache as well. So I knew that this was going to go pretty well in my favor. And at this point, I don't believe I shield just because I do have Poliwrath in the back as well to deal with the Pro Pass. And so, yeah, so I actually go in with Charizard because I know that it's going to be able to do a decent amount of damage until I get hit by Blizzard, but I want to save most of my HP on Poliwrath for the Pro Pass. At this point, I wasn't able to switch fast enough, but it's okay because I'm just going to absorb that damage. Charizard's pretty much done his job by doing some chip damage on the Wish Cache, and then here I'm just going to go straight for Dynamic Punch. I'm going to do a shield right here because if it's a Thunderbolt, which it ends up being, then it's going to do a decent amount of damage, more damage than a Mud Bomb would. So I'm going to shield that and then go straight for another Dynamic Punch. I figured I didn't have the bait earlier, so I didn't even try to. And then right here, go for Ice Punch. And so that was first match. Going into the second match, I end up going in with Swampert, Poliwrath, and Charizard. And so Poliwrath can do a decent amount against Frostas as well. So I figured if he puts me into that scenario, I can always swap to it. So right here, I swap in Poliwrath. Mainly because I could have stayed in with Swampert, but I might as well just throw in the Poliwrath, because if he has Frostas in the back, Swampert has a much better option against it than Poliwrath does. And so I think it was CMP right there. Otherwise, I probably would have farmed a little bit more. He does end up shielding though. And so at this point, I'm going to shield as well, because I do want to win this lead. And he does end up switching. So not the worst case scenario at this point, just because, like I said, that dynamic punch will do a decent amount of damage to Frostas as well, even though it's resisted. Frostas is just very attack heavy too. And so at this point, I think he realized that he does have to drop at least one avalanche on me, otherwise I'm just going to keep being able to throw out the dynamic punches. I'm just going to let this hit my Charizard, because I know Charizard can survive one avalanche and tank it, and then at this point, I'm going to just probably try to swap to Swampert, because the Swampert is going to have to take out the Whiscash as well as the Propass. And so right here, I'm going to go in with the Hydro Cannon. He realizes that he really needs to take out the Swampert to even stand a chance, but I'm going to just shield this, because I know that I want to give my Swampert as much of a chance as possible against this Propass. It's going to resist both the Propass's moves, so it's not too bad, but so that's why I kind of shield the Mud Bomb instead, because I know that it's going to do a little more damage. Or at least I think it does. Yeah, right here, he's going to hit me with either Rock Slide or Thunderbolt, but both are resisted, like I said, so it's not going to be a big deal. And then we're going to go straight for the next Hydro Cannon, and then wrap up round number 4. So great games there. And going to round number 5, I'm going against JR Skater. I've seen him on stream at a Timeless Cup in North Carolina, so I knew that he was going to be a tough opponent too. And at this point, he was also undefeated, so obviously he was having a pretty solid run as well. And so I'm going to go in with Noctowl, Poliwrath, and Swampert. And so the main thing is, something about Poliwrath is you can match even shields with Shiftry, but it looks like right here he's going to double shield. And not even, yeah, I probably should have baited, actually, now that I think about it, but good calls by him. And then, so I go with Noctowl at this point. I know he has a Propass in the end, so I'm kind of expecting that Propass, but he instead brings out Poliwrath, and this pretty much ensures I lost the match. I went for a quick blind switch, and it did not pay off. I didn't really anticipate him bringing Poliwrath into Noctowl, per se. If I had just stayed in, I probably would have been able to win. It still would have been close, actually, because that Shift Tree, he probably would have brought in Propass right after, and then I probably switched straight into Swampert, and I probably wouldn't have been able to take out the Shift Tree anyway, and then yeah, it wouldn't have worked out anyway. So but yeah, at this point, just gonna yeah, there's no way I could really turn this matchup around. Anyone that's ever played against Propass with Noctowl or most flyer types, it's just not worth it. So I'm not even going to try using charge moves at this point and just kind of take the L right here. So well played by JR Skater for sure. So did end up losing that first match. And so going in, I go in with Noctowl, Poliwrath, and Swampert. Same lineup again, hoping that I play it out a little better. And so right here, I'm going to QSA this Sky Attack a little bit before throwing my own off. At the point of you all watching this video, obviously QSA no longer exists anymore. But either way, the strategy was really to kind of chip down this Noctowl damage, because Noctowl can do quite a bit of damage still to Swampert, even though it will take quite a bit of damage from Hydro Cannons. But so I just didn't want to be in a situation where I am losing the matchup when I'm switching in. So that's why I want to do some extra damage against the Noctowl. Yeah, so as you can see, he's expended both shields at this point, and at this point I'm going to expend both my shields as well, just to ensure that I win this pretty much switch advantage. He does do a pretty solid switch right here, and so that was smart on him. And then I quickly switch to Poliwrath. And the main reason I do that is because I know that he's Shift Tree in the back, and so I want to save my Noctowl for that instead. And so yeah, I farm a little bit extra here, but it's not the end of the world just because, yeah, I don't want this shift tree to be able to farm any additional energy off of me. And so he does go in for the quick Leaf Blade, but I do have Noctowl, and so I knew that that was going to be okay. And I do a quick switch to Swampert just because I know that if I take a Sky Attack from his Noctowl, I'll be definitely in a tough situation. So right here, I think I might have been able to get to that Hydro Cannon, and so I probably should have just used it, but instead I kind of went straight for the Sludge Wave in case you're trying to farm me extra. Worked out anyway because I had enough for Sky Attack right away with the Noctowl. So ended up taking him out in match number 2, and so we're going into the tiebreaker right now, and I'm going with Swampert, Poliwrath, and Noctowl. So not ideal, but what I realized is that Poliwrath can do a decent amount of damage against Shift Tree even if he switches it in, so that's why I decided to lead with Swampert, and that way I still have a counter with Noctowl in the back against a Shift Tree if need be. So I'm going to go match even shields a little bit, and I finally just go for the bait because I've noticed that he's been shielding a lot of my attacks. And so right here, I believe I let it go through because like I said before, it can survive one Leaf Blade unlike the Mud Boys, and I know that this Dynamic Punch will be able to KO it. So I go for it. This way, I can't get my Poliwrath farm too much from his Noctowl. I'm going to go straight in with Swampert at this point. And I'm trying to think why I might have done this because it can definitely be risky in the sense that if he had Propass in the back, oh wait, no, sorry, we saw the Poliwrath earlier, so that's why I went Swampert instead. Luckily I knew that I was able to survive that Dynamic Punch, but he's very quick on the switch, which is good. He caught me off guard. At this point I'm just going to farm a little energy off of this Poliwrath also to ensure that I have less health for him to be able to farm off of. But I maintain enough health that at this point, he needs to hit me with a Sky Attack to take me out. And so, because I farmed a little extra energy as well, I do have enough to do a Sky Attack on him. So, he could either try to farm me, but I'm probably going to get to another Sky Attack before taking me out, or he has to use his own. At this point, I know that he'll be close to on like neutral energy, and I had a Hydro Cannon ready. Go straight for the Hydro Cannon and take him out. Super close matches right there, but really great plays from JR Skater. All right, so going into round number 6, we're going into a match with Diana Aggron, and I go in with Charizard, Poliwrath, and Swampert. Like I said, my team's a little bit weak to Frostlass, and the tricky part now is he actually has quite a bit of anti-flyers. He has Bronzong, Probopass, and Frostlass. And so not a great situation. I had the double shield, of course, right here. So going in with the Blast Burn, I was able to take out the Noctowl. Right here, you can see I'm trying to switch, and I think honestly this is just my own mistake. It's not any glitch or anything. And so that kind of messed me up, and you'll see later why that was kind of important. So he goes in with Frostlass. I go in with my Hydro Cannon, Swampert. Like before, I said that this is pretty much one of my 2 counters to Frostlass, so I kind of have to use it. I think this is a situation where having like a Quagsire would have been a lot better for my team. But that being said, going in with Swampert, and he does shield knowing that he kind of wants this situation because he knows that Poliwrath might do a decent amount of damage. So I'm going with Ice Punch. I know it's resisted, but I was trying to farm a little extra on it. I wasn't able to. And so he goes on a Sludge Wave, and then I'm going to go in straight in with the Dynamic Punch. I know it's not enough to KO, unfortunately, and so I know this is going to be... I pretty much know the match is over just because I know he's going to get to the Hydro Cannon time. Now, if you look at that sliver of health, had I used like a Dragon Claw, a Blast Burn, whatever for my Charizard before getting KO'd, probably would have been a different game. That being said, still really well played by Dan Aggron, and now I'm going with same lineup, Charizard, Poliwrath, and Swampert. So right here, I'm just going to go straight in for the Blast Burn. And he does correctly shield it, and I believe I double shield again. Not the greatest, but Charizard is pretty glassy, so I know that's definitely going to be a tricky situation if I don't. He does end up shielding, which is solid for the purposes of, because now I have still a little energy, but it's still going to be kind of an uphill battle because, like I said, I'm kind of losing my main counters to Frostlass right now because Charizard's in the back with half health. My Swamper's probably going to lose this matchup right now. And then I'll have to bring in Poliwrath. But I'm going to have to use at least a Dynamic Punch in all likelihood. Or probably Ice Punch to take it out. But I knew that I was going to have to eat at least one Hydro Cannon myself first. And so that's what happens right there. I farm like 1 or 2 extra mud shots and I go in straight for the Ice Punch. I know at this point it's probably over. There's not much in the back that he could probably use against me that I knew that can be useful. And so right here, really great switch by him. Takes the damage right there. And then had he not done that, I think he still would have won. But that really solidified the deal. Dynamic Punch can do a decent amount of damage, but it is resisted. And I need at least 2, and there's no way that he can't get to Avalanche in time. So, really great match from Diana Agron. He actually changed his Sylph name. It used to be PL232, and he was actually the person I played in round 8 of Ferocious Cup. He beat me there too. So, really top player that you should definitely look out for. I don't think a lot of people know him as much yet, but I would not be surprised if he does really well in the next few cups as well, Mega Cups. So going into round number 7, I'm going against Last Super Saiyan. I believe he's like a training partner of Diana Agron as well, so that's going to be tough just because Diana Agron just took me out and then now I'm going against his training partner. So one thing to note about my team is it's actually kind of weak to Venusaur. Obviously I have 3 flyers that all beat Venusaur, but if I don't match up with those perfectly, then I'm kind of in a sticky situation. So right here, I'm going with Charizard, Poliwrath, and Swampert. And the main reason why I say that it's weaker to Venusaur is that it doesn't beat Venusaur on even shields. Poliwrath does. It doesn't, but it does against Shiftry. And so that's kind of a tricky situation because even if I'm throwing out Ice Punches, as long as they match my shields, they'll be able to take out my Poliwrath. And so that's kind of unfortunate and definitely a tricky thing to play around. So I definitely will have to try to match up my flyers against this grass to stand a chance. So yeah, in this situation, I'm going with Charizard, Poliwrath, and Swampert. Again, Frostlass team's not ideal just because I kind of have to use a weird combination of Swampert and Charizard to take it out. Although he does have a Alolan Sandslash, which is also weak to Charizard, so I don't have to worry about Probopass in the mix as well. That being said, he ends up winning match number 1. Really well played by him. And going to match number 2, I realized because he doesn't really have any steel types, I'm going steel rock types. I'm going in with Charizard, Noctowl, and Altaria. So I'm actually running Triple Fly for the first time in this cup. I've run it in practice a few times, but it is kind of tricky and risky to run with, just because if they have a Probopass, you're done, right? Even if they have a Bronzong, it can be kind of a tough matchup. But because of the lineup he has, it actually is in a prime lineup to use against. He also has Quagsire as one of his anti-flyers, which is definitely sad. Oh, and Swampert actually really against my Noctowl and Charizard. So that's why I brought in Altaria for this one, because I knew that he's probably going to bring in Swampert. And so I need to do everything I can to have something to counter it. And Altaria has a better matchup against Quagsire than most, so that's why I'm going in here. Now I actually make a big mistake right here, and what I do is I actually try to QSA his Stone Edge. Not a good idea, because you'll see right here, I can easily survive the Stone Edge, but what this is doing now is that I'm just wasting a Sky Attack when he has almost no health when I could have just farmed it. And so now I'm in a really tough situation because I know that this Swampert is probably going to beat my Altaria. So I have one win condition, which is sack swap my Charizard right in time. He actually ends up using a Sludge Wave too, which means that I have even an extra energy advantage how to use Hydro Cannon. So I knew I was going to be able to survive a Hydro Cannon, but I knew it was going to be super close. Somehow get to another Sky Attack in time, and I'm able to take it out with just Dragon Breaths. I guarantee he was probably really close to another Hydro Cannon as well. But kind of a misplay on my end where it just made my life a lot harder right off the bat. I didn't think he was going to lead Quagsire again, but he does. And so I went in with Charizard, Swampert, and Altaria for this one. I was a little nervous he's going to bring Venusaur, but I just went for a gamble. Right after going Triple Flyer, I thought it was going to be unlikely that he's going to bring in Venusaur after seeing that. And as you can see, he probably didn't, because he's staying in this matchup with a Quagsire against Swampert. And so something's telling me that everything he has in the back is not ideal against Swampert either. So my guess is he probably has maybe Swampert and Froslass or something in the back. And he doesn't even go for baits, actually, so, and I end up shielding both the Earthquakes, so that actually works out in my favor. And so, like I said, I figured he probably had a Swampert in back and probably a Froslass, just because after seeing triple flyers, he's going to be really primed to want to counter all 3 of my flyers, hopefully. And so that's kind of where my team kind of works out well, like from a psychological advantage, because it's just a strange team where some people kind of over-prepare, under-prepare, depending on what they're doing. And so I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get to a Blast Burn time, so I go straight for the Dragon Claw. And the main reason I knew I had energy left on the Altaria, so I was able to get to Sky Attack in time, take it out, and then at this point, pretty solid matchup just because Swampert's not going to be able to do enough even with the Sludge Wave. And so I end up taking round number 7. Very close games by last Super Saiyan, and especially if he's training partners with that Aggron, makes a lot of sense why he's so good. So going into the final round, of course I get paired up with Shmusiv, Season 1 North American Worlds winner. So I knew that at the very least he's going to be a pretty strong opponent. So going in, I go in with Altaria, Poliwrath, and Swampert. And what I noticed on his team is he actually has a big weakness to Poliwrath. And so what I'm trying to do is, no matter what, take out his Bronzong. As long as I can take out his Bronzong, I'm going to have a decent matchup in the back, right? Yeah, I expended an extra shield, but that's okay with me just because I know that I want that switch priority. And so right here, I go in with the Sky Attack. And it was a CMP tie, so he's going to get to Ice Punch. But at this point, I feel okay against his matchup, and so I go in with Poliwrath right here, and I was a little worried about his Shift Tree in the back, and so that's kind of why I'm trying to preserve this Poliwrath and not take dynamic punches. And so that's why I go in actually with this Swampert, and the main reason is because I can absorb this. That's fine. I know he needs to use another charge move against me. If it is a Shift Tree, I can just use Sludge Wave right away. And so I'm going to go in Sludge Wave right here. And he ends up bringing his own Swampert. And so this is much more ideal because I know that now I'll have a much easier time with Poliwrath in the back. And so he goes, times it perfectly actually. He goes right at my own Hydro Cannon. That being said though, I knew that no matter, unless it's an Earthquake, which I think I still would have survived, because of Sludge Wave though, I knew that I could comfortably get to Dynamic Punch. And so I take match number 1 against Shmusiv, and we're going into the second match. I go in with the same lineup with Altaria, Poliwrath, and Swampert. As you can see, he has a Probass on his team too, so that's kind of why I went double waters, because I was really nervous about that Probass. But yeah, so he goes in, same kind of matchup too, with his Bronzong lead. Same kind of setup as before. I'm going to do everything I can to kind of win this. And so I shield this right here, and then kind of at this point he's going to have to figure out if he needs to shield or tank it as well. So kind of same setup matchup right there. I'm not, I do end up shielding it actually, which is I didn't really remember why I did that, but so I guess I'll try and take off 1 extra shield off of him. And oh right, and I think what I thought was he's going to need to get to Ice Punch anyway. And so kind of a similar setup as last time, kind of hoping, okay, maybe if he has a Swampert in the back again, we kind of replay that. What he ends up having actually is a Shift Tree, so that's not good, because, and he doesn't shield, which is impressive, because had I used a Dynamic Punch, that would have been done for him. At this point too, Poliwrath, yeah, can beat Shift Tree on even shields, but definitely not with the shield advantage on Shift Tree side. So great plays by him. And third match, I end up going with Noctowl, Poliwrath, and Altaria. Now I'm thinking at this point, if he brings Probass, I'm pretty much done, because or I'm just gonna have to sack this Noctowl completely. It was definitely a big gamble on my end, but the main thing to note is that if he didn't bring Probass, then this could be a much easier matchup. And at the very least, he had to lead Probass. And so he didn't lead it, he led Poliwrath, which is definitely a favorable matchup for Noctowl. And so I'm winning the switch advantage as well as have a shield advantage as well. And so at this point, I'm just going to use Sky Attack just to soften up the Bronzong. Same plan as last time. I'm just going to take out this Bronzong because I have Poliwrath in back. Very good against the rest of his team. And now that I have a shield advantage as well, I know that at the very least we'll be on even shields no matter what he has left. So at this point, I'm going to shield and keep kind of chipping down his damage. He actually goes for another one. I'm going to shield again, right? Worst case scenario, it's a shift tree. I can still beat on even shields, and I want to have that situation. So he goes in. There's pretty much at this point not much. Maybe a Charizard might have been tricky depending on what moveset it had, but he then ends up bringing Shift Tree, and I was able to take it out with Dynamic Punch. So that's the conclusion of the tournament. I ended up going 7-1, which I'm pretty happy with the results. And congrats to Valor Ash for sweeping the tournament 8-0. Something you may or may not have noticed is I actually did not use my Wish Cash a single time in this entire tournament. If I were to redo things, I probably would bring Quagsire over Wish Cash. The biggest issue was really Frostlass in this cup, and so Quagsire can definitely help round out my team a little bit more in that situation. How does this team do post Community Day with Empoleon? I think it does pretty well, mainly because I still have Poliwrath and Altaria as well that can match up decently against Empoleon. Like I said, if you have 3 flyers and 3 waters, you can pick and choose more against your opponent's teams. One last thing to note is that I didn't actually see any Charmers in play against me throughout this tournament. My team might look a little weak to Charmers, but with a combination of Swampert, Charizard, and just a lot of other mons that can do quite a bit of chip damage to Charmers, I've actually never struggled with Charmers for the most part. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this helps clear up some questions people may have about why I'd run such a weird team and how did it even work. If you have any additional questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below, and feel free to like and subscribe for future content, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.